If it's red, it's hot.
All right, are we ready? All right, I would like to call to order this regular meeting of the Ventura LAFCO Commission for Wednesday, January 15th at 9 a.m. And Vice Chair, would you lead us in the,
Absolutely. Please rise. Place your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
all right, Madam Clerk, can we get the roll call, please?
Commissioner Avila?
Here.
Commissioner Gorell?
Here.
Commissioner Parvin? Here. Commissioner Santangelo?
Here.
Commissioner Stevens?
Here.
Commissioner Talmadge?
Here.
Alternate Commissioner Hassan?
Here.
Alternate Commissioner Pikachowski?
Here.
And Chair Crosswhite.
Here. Thank you. And then we have our introduction of our new commissioners.
Thank you, Chair Crosswhite. Yeah, I would like to introduce a couple of new commissioners and one new alternate commissioner. I'd like to introduce Chris Stevens, who was elected in December from the Special District Selection Committee. Chris comes to us from the Ventura Port District. And Gene Talmadge, he was selected as the public member by this commission back in September. And Mr. Joe Piechowski was selected as the alternate public member, also by the commission back in September. They've all been sworn in and they're ready to go.
Thank you very much. Welcome to our new commissioners. And with that, we will have our election of our chair and our vice chair. Madam Clerk, do you want to go over the procedure?
We can do it both in one motion together or separately. It's your choice.
Maybe let's do them one and one.
Okay.
So do we have a motion for, or actually, I would make a motion for our incoming chair of Commissioner Avila.
I'll second.
Any other nominations? All right, with that, I guess I still run this one. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? It passes unanimously. And then I will pass it over to our new chair, who can run the election of the vice chair.
Okay, thank you, Commission. Okay, and with that, I believe this year, our vice chair is going to be somebody from the county. So do we have a nomination?
Mr. Chair, congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
You're wielding your power with great resolve already, and I'm very impressed. But I would like to nominate Commissioner Parvin, Board Member Parvin, to serve as vice chair for this round, if I may.
I would second.
Do we have a second?
I seconded.
Oh, okay. Okay, we have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Any-
and
any-
thank you.
Any opposed?
I accept.
We didn't give you that option. We already voted you in. Congratulations.
Thank you. It's an honor to serve.
Okay. All right, thank you. Next item is going to be the agenda review. Consider and approve by majority vote minor revisions to commission items or attachments and any item to or removed continued from the LAFCO agenda and changes to the order of business to accommodate a special circumstance. Do we have any special circumstances or any changes? Okay, we do not. We have item 7, commission presentations. First one is a presentation to John Zaragoza acknowledging his service to LAFCO as a city member. Kai?
There we go. Yeah, this item is just to acknowledge those commissioners who have served on the commission and they left this year. They include, of course, John Zaragoza, who was the previous mayor of City of Oxnard and did not run again. So when he stopped being the mayor, he stopped being on the commission. So we do have a plaque for him. We did ask him, or offer to do that with him here, but he was too busy. So John Zaragoza served on this commission first as a city member for about 8 years, then as a county supervisor for about 10 years, and then he came back as the mayor of Oxnard for another 2 or 3 years. So he's been associated with this commission for about 18 years or so, and most recently as the mayor. We also have a plaque for Commissioner Mary Ann Rooney of the Oxnard Harbor District. Mary Ann served on this commission for a good, I think, about 12 years, both as a full commissioner and an alternate for special districts. And then Pat Richards. Pat Richards was the previous public member. Pat served 4 years as the public member, and previous to that, he served 4 years as the alternate member. And again, we have a plaque for him that we'll be mailing for him. He's in the process of moving to Idaho. And then we have a alternate commissioner or public commissioner, David Ross. For this last term, he was the alternate public member. Previous to that, he was the full public member for 4 years. We also have a plaque for David that we'll be sending him. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Kai, and thank you to all the past commissioners and alternate commissioners. Item number 8 is public comment. Public comment is that portion of commission meetings set aside for members of the public to address the commission on items of any Ventura LAFCO business other than scheduled agenda items. Comments provided during public comment are limited to items within the subject matter jurisdiction of Ventura LAFCO and are limited to 5 minutes. The commission may not deliberate or vote on any matter raised in public comment. The chair, however, may request the executive officer to provide brief additional information on a matter of general interest to the full commission or public at large. Okay. Do we have any of the members of the public who wish to speak? Okay. It looks like no public comment. Moving over to the consent items. I'm looking for, does anybody? Can you please turn on your mic, Commissioner? Thank you.
Under the consent items, you will be voting for the minutes of the meeting. I think there's a apparent correction that should be made. If you look at on the minutes, it says Commissioner Avila is going to attend, but you didn't, and I set in for you. So that sentence should be taken out from top. Did you see that? You were not at that meeting. So you were not in the meeting, so should be taken.
Okay, with that being said, do we have a motion to approve the consent items? We have a second.
Second.
Okay, can we please take a roll call vote on this one, please?
Commissioner Crosswhite,
Yes.
Commissioner Gorell,
Yes.
Commissioner Parvin,
Yes.
Commissioner Santangelo,
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens,
Yes.
Commissioner Talmadge.
Yes, however, I abstain from item number 10, minutes of the LAFCO meeting from September. I was not in attendance at that meeting. Others are yes.
Okay, the motion to pass the consent items passes. Okay, now we're moving on to public hearing items. Number 14, Fox Canyon Groundwater Management Agency Municipal Services Review. And adopt a resolution to accept the municipal services review for the Fox Canyon Groundwater Management Agency, and make statements and of determinations as required under Government Code 56430, authorize the executive officer to make any necessary non-substantive changes to the report, and direct staff to prepare and distribute the final MSR to all affected local agencies. Okay, do we have a presentation on this one?
Good, I just have to lean in. I'm Andrea Ozdy. I know we have a lot of new commissioners, some who I know already from before, but just wanted to introduce myself. I've been with LAFCO for about 10 years now, and we'll see you every meeting when you're here. This is agenda item number 14, the Municipal Service Review for the Fox Canyon Groundwater Management Agency. Pursuant to LAFCO law, every 5 years, LAFCO is required to review the sphere of influence, which is the probable physical boundary and service area of a local agency for each city and special district. The sphere typically contains areas surrounding an agency's jurisdictional area, but can also be coterminous with or even less than the agency's service area if expansion of the service area is not anticipated. In order to update an agency's sphere, LAFCO law requires that LAFCO must conduct a municipal service review, or MSR, of that agency.
Sorry to interrupt you, Andrea. Is there a way to turn up the volume on her mic? It's difficult to hear her.
I'll just lean in a little more.
Or maybe a little closer.
Okay.
Thank you.
The MSR is a document prepared by LAFCO that covers 7 specific topics related to the function of a local agency. An MSR contains a discussion of a variety of subject areas, including growth and population projections, the location and characteristics of disadvantaged unincorporated communities, present and planned capacity of public facilities and adequacy of public services, the financial ability of agencies to provide services, the status of and opportunities for shared facilities, the accountability for community service needs, and any other matter as determined by the Commission. The MSR is intended to be a useful and relevant reference document regarding the agency for the public, for the agency itself, as well as other agencies, and also for LAFCO in making decisions about the agency's services and boundaries. Today, the Commission is considering an MSR for the Fox Canyon Groundwater Management Agency. And for context for the Commission, this is the second to last of 28 MSRs prepared over the last few years to bring current the MSRs that were prepared in 2003 and 2004 for the water and wastewater districts within Ventura County. The Fox Canyon Groundwater Management Agency was formed by legislation in 1982, and it is charged with the preservation and management of groundwater resources within the areas or lands overlying the Fox Canyon Aquifer for the common benefit of the public and all agricultural, domestic, and municipal and industrial users. Fox Canyon's jurisdictional area includes the land overlying several groundwater basins in southern Ventura County, including the cities of Oxnard and Port Hueneme, portions of the cities of Ventura, Camarillo, and Moore Park, as well as the unincorporated areas surrounding those cities. Here's the official map of the agency prepared by LAFCO, and a few quick facts about it, including that it was formed in 1982, as mentioned, that it is governed by a 5-member board of directors, that it is staffed by the Ventura County Watershed Protection District, and it serves a population of about 350,000 who rely on local groundwater resources. Some background on the district's formation. In the 1930s, declining groundwater levels and seawater intrusion were first recognized in the Oxnard Plain, creating concerns about the long-term viability of pumping groundwater within the region. This prompted the formation of what later became the United Water Conservation District, which owns and operates facilities such as Lake Piru and the Santa Felicia Dam, the Freeman Diversion at the Santa Clara River in Saticoy, and other groundwater recharge facilities, and potable and non-potable water pipelines. Generally speaking, United supports the infrastructure to recharge groundwater resources to the maximum extent possible and enhances water resources in support of reliable and sustainable water supplies. and Fox Canyon manages the aquifers and controls groundwater extractions within the groundwater basins. According to the Department of Water Resources, aquifers are defined as saturated spaces between layers of sands, soils, and gravels, or the interconnected cracks in bedrock or volcanic deposits. And layers of aquifers make up a groundwater basin. Groundwater basins within Fox Canyon's authority are the Arroyo Santa Rosa, East, South, and West Las Posas, Oxnard Forebay, Oxnard Plain, and Pleasant Valley. Fox Canyon's role, according to its enabling legislation, is to levy groundwater extraction charges on the extraction of groundwater from all water extraction facilities within the territory of the agency for the purposes of paying the costs of initiating, carrying on, and completing any of the powers, purposes, and groundwater management activities described in this act. And the agency's goals are to conserve and preserve groundwater resources, impede seawater intrusion, and prevent groundwater contamination. The agency manages groundwater through information and planning consisting of compliance with the California Sustainable Groundwater Management Act, also known as SGMA, including the preparation and update of 3 groundwater sustainability plans, also called GSPs, one each for the Las Posas Valley Basin, Oxnard Subbasin, and Pleasant Valley Basin, to lay out a plan for long-term sustainability of high-priority basins by 2040. It also imposes regulations and controls consisting of the imposition of groundwater extraction charges and the adoption and implementation of ordinances to limit groundwater extractions for the purpose of ensuring sustainability of the basins. A detailed discussion of the agency's compliance with SGMA, contents of the groundwater sustainability plans, extraction charges, and a summary of extraction ordinances are all provided in the draft MSR report. This slide depicts the various groundwater basins under Fox Canyon's jurisdiction in context of each other, and it shows a general downward trend in groundwater extractions over the last decade for the Oxnard, Pleasant Valley, and Las Posas basins, which are the high-priority basins within the district's jurisdiction. No notice was required to be provided for the Commission's consideration of the MSR. However, notice was provided in the Ventura County Star, the LAFCO website, and also at the County Government Center. A final draft of the MSR was posted on the Ventura LAFCO website along with today's agenda packet, and no comments have been received. Staff recommends that the Commission adopt a resolution to accept the municipal service review for the Fox Canyon Groundwater Management Agency with any modifications made by the Commission at the public hearing, and make statements of determination as required by LAFCO law, authorize the executive officer to make any necessary non-substantive changes to the report, and direct staff to prepare and distribute the final MSR to all affected local agencies. And that concludes my presentation. I'm available for questions, and we also have Arnie Anselm here, who's the interim executive officer of the Fox Canyon GMA.
Thank you.
I have a comment. Again, I like Andrea's reporting and things she does. But I have a request.
Can you speak a little closer to the microphone? We can't hear you. Thank you.
I have a request because the maps that you have, both of them, on item this one and the next one too, both of them say March 18, 2015. So we need to update it or just change the date, if nothing else.
Once the Commission takes action today as part of the sphere review, which is the next item, then we will make that change. But the map and the date that you have reflects what's current to today.
Okay, thank you. Do you have any other questions, Commission? Okay. Jenny?
I'm guessing there is no answer to this, but is there any sense, I saw in the packet that the commission that oversees Fox Canyon is doing a study into whether or not they could have their own staffing versus contract staffing. Do we have any sense of what impact that would have, or is that the purpose of the study?
That I would let Arnie Anselm respond to that, but I know that there's a lot of questions and plans being worked out currently, so we're right in the middle of that at this time. would you like to have Arnie respond?
For the record, Arnie Anselm, Interim Executive Officer for Fox Canyon. The study that's happening is what is the appropriate staffing level for the agency? It has grown in responsibility exponentially for the last 5 years, and we have not been able to keep up with the staff that is needed, and we decided to take a big look at what are our responsibilities, because as you heard, we were formed in 1982 as a small groundwater agency. Then the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act came along, and that created a whole new set of responsibilities and authorities. And there is also an adjudication that was settled in the Las Posas Valley Basin, which we are now the water master. And all this happened really in the last 5 years. So the study is what is the appropriate staffing level for the agency and what positions, so we know where we're going. A sidebar to that is should the county be staffing the agency? Should it be housed in Public Works? Does it need to be its own entity with its own presence to the public? And so that hasn't been answered yet.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Thank you, Arnie. Does anyone have any other questions? Gene?
I have a couple of comments. First off, I wanted to commend staff on a fine report, that the service review was quite thorough. But I do have a couple of questions. First off, on page 73, it calls, actually it was public agencies with overlapping jurisdiction. I noticed that the Navy bases at Port Hueneme and Point Mugu are not on the list. Is that an oversight, or are they covered some other way?
There are so many public agencies that share jurisdictional area with the agency. What we did in this column right here, on this chart, was we reflected just the agencies that LAFCO oversees.
I see, so it's covered within the cities? The
Yes.
requirement.
I'm
See,
sorry.
they overlap the zone, the area, if you may, of the groundwater management agency, and they do draw water from that agency for their own purposes, and they were left off the list, and I was just curious why.
Oh, okay. Well, are you referring to the list here that we have? Because Arnie is saying that the Fox Canyon GMA does not have the authority to control their pumping, but I'm not sure if that's your question or if you're referring to this list that we have and why it's.
Should they be included or not?
They are under the sphere of United Water District and as well as
Right,
Calleguas.
they are covered by United Water
And
District.
Calleguas
True,
as well.
okay. All right.
If I may, the list is limited to only those agencies that LAFCO has jurisdiction over. The Navy is not one of them, so they wouldn't be on this list.
Okay. Second area is financial ability of the agencies to provide services. It's noted that current revenues do not exceed, in other words, they're in deficit, so they're borrowing. How long is this going to continue, or do they have means by which they will then balance their budget?
As Arnie mentioned, the district is in flux right now, and they're doing that evaluation of what their needs are and how they're going to accomplish all of that. So currently, you're right, as mentioned in the staff report, or in the MSR, expenditures do exceed revenues. They do have fund balance, so they're covering that in the meantime through fund balance and have sufficient means to do that. And there are a few items that are listed specifically in one of the footnotes on page 72. Footnote 6. And so they're also developing or using their fiscal committee to work out some of those details and make sure that they will not have their expenditures exceeding revenues for in the future.
All right, thank you.
Great questions. Okay, one more.
Question, Ernie is here, so this is a good chance to find out. What is the real timetable on that determination, whether it will be private or public what is the timetable on that?
I can't answer that directly. There is an opinion that we're waiting for from the Attorney General to answer the question on, can it be contracted out? The legislation, the enabling legislation for Fox Canyon says it can be staffed by the county or by United, and has the authority to hire contractors. And so there's some confusion on exactly what that language means. And it's a decision that we don't even know is possible for the board to make. So I don't have a timeline on that.
Thank you, Arnie.
And if I can jump back to the question about the budget, yes, we have significant reserves. Last year's budget was very elevated compared to previous years because we took on a $5 million monitoring well drilling project, and it was also our 5-year evaluation of the implementation of our GSP. So it was a significant slug load of work that we got through last year.
Thank you. All right, looking for a motion.
Mr. Chair, first of all, I just want to reiterate what's been said already. MSRs are a lot of work, and this is a great report. So praise to staff for putting in this amount of time and effort. And I would move the recommendations of staff on adopting the MSR.
Well, second.
Yeah, we have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion passes, approving the MSR as recommended by staff. Moving on to item 15. LAFCO 2501S, Fox Canyon Groundwater Management Agency, Sphere of Influence Review. Adopt resolution LAFCO 2501S, making determinations and reviewing the sphere of influence for the Fox Canyon Groundwater Management Agency pursuant to Government Code 56425G, including that a sphere of influence update is not necessary.
Okay, agenda item number 15, the Sphere of Influence Review for the Fox Canyon Groundwater Management Agency. And also real quick, I just want to acknowledge also Arnie and his staff because they put a lot of effort into that MSR as well. So it was, yeah, I was the one asking all the questions and poking and prodding, but they were very much involved in that process and appreciate their input as well. So this is a summary of the definition of a sphere of influence and the LAFCO requirement to determine a sphere for each city and special district every 5 years. LAFCO's determinations regarding an agency's sphere of influence address the present and planned land uses, present and probable need for public facilities and services, the present capacity of public facilities and adequacy of public services, the existence of any social or economic communities of interest, and the present and probable need for public facilities and services of any disadvantaged unincorporated communities related to sewers, municipal and industrial water, or structural fire protection. And as mentioned in the last item, the Fox Canyon Groundwater Management Agency's jurisdictional area includes the land overlying several groundwater basins in southern Ventura County, including the cities of Oxnard and Port Hueneme, portions of the cities of Ventura, Camarillo, and Moore Park, as well as the unincorporated areas between those cities. And the district's purpose is to preserve and manage groundwater resources within its jurisdictional area. Based on the evaluation in the MSR, the district's sphere of influence reflects the current and probable service area of the district, and therefore no change in the district's sphere is recommended today. Notice of the hearing was provided as required in LAFCO law, and no comments have been received. Staff recommends that the commission adopt a resolution making determinations and reviewing the sphere of influence for the Fox Canyon Groundwater Management Agency pursuant to LAFCO law, including that a sphere of influence update is not necessary. And that concludes the presentation.
Thank you. Jude?
I have a miscellaneous question. In looking at the line for the sphere of influence, there's a funny little thing near Santa Rosa Road that weird little projection goes into what seemingly would be a straight line. Any reason for that?
I need to see it.
Is it a mountain range or what? little blip on the right where it kind of, instead of being a straight line, it just seems like an anomaly.
Are you, here, let's see. Are you referring to
Yeah, right there.
this?
Yeah,
I'm not sure what that is. I can see that the sphere and the jurisdictional boundary of the district are coterminous there. So that must have just been what the legislature established in 82 when the district was formed. I don't know what the specific
I was just
features are of that
wondering why that-
area.
the rest of it seemed to follow a logical line, and all of a sudden, this little blip.
My understanding is that the sphere was originally based on what was understood to be the extent of the aquifers at that time. So if that was not believed to be over the aquifer, it was excluded. And I don't know what the geological feature is that resulted from that, but that was the basis for the sphere of influence and the boundaries of the district back then.
Thank you. Any other questions from the commission? Okay,
Chair, I'll move approval.
okay, do we have a second? Okay, we have a first and second. Something weird's going on with the screen, but all in favor? Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Moving on to item 16, the LAFCO 2502S Gold Coast Transit District Sphere of Influence Review. Adopt a resolution LAFCO 2502S making determinations and reviewing the sphere of influence for the Gold Coast Transit District pursuant to Government Code Section 56425G, including that a sphere of influence update is not necessary.
This is item 16, the sphere of influence review for the Gold Coast Transit District. Again, here's the summary of the sphere of influence and requirements related to LAFCO law. And again, LAFCO's determinations regarding spheres of influence. The Gold Coast Transit District, formed in 2013, originally provided service through a joint powers agreement that was known as South Coast Area Transit. The district was formed to develop, provide, operate, and administer public transportation and to protect the public interest, health, and welfare. Now structured as a district, Gold Coast has more direct access to government funding to support its operations and services. Gold Coast jurisdictional area includes the cities of Ojai, Ventura, Oxnard, and Port Hueneme, and the unincorporated county area. The district has a fleet of 111 vehicles, including 61 fixed-route buses, as well as paratransit vehicles and non-service vehicles. Annual ridership is about 3.5 million and is anticipated to grow. The district service includes 19 fixed routes located within the cities it serves and the unincorporated areas surrounding those cities, paratransit for seniors and disabled riders, and additional public transit programs for times and areas that are outside the normal routes and schedules. In 2019, the district relocated to a new facility in North Oxnard from an outdated facility that was located in downtown Oxnard. The new headquarters can accommodate additional vehicles and personnel, which will enable the district to have the flexibility to provide expanded service such as increased frequency on existing routes and new routes if needed. Notice of the hearing was provided as required in LAFCO law, and we have received no comments. And staff recommends that the commission adopt a resolution making determinations and reviewing the sphere of influence for the Gold Coast Transit District pursuant to LAFCO law, including that a sphere of influence update is not necessary. That concludes the presentation.
Thank you. Jenny?
I have a question. So it says in there that in 2015 it was adjusted. What did it look like prior to 2015 is my first question.
It was not adjusted, so it was determined.
That was just the last time it was reviewed.
That was last time it was reviewed, right? And there were no changes made at that time.
So I'm trying to understand, it currently includes the unincorporated county, but Gold Coast only actually offers service in those cities, and the part of the unincorporated county that's between those cities, VCTC offers service, the intercity service that goes up the 126 and out to Thousand Oaks. So I'm just trying to understand what the relationship is, like why their sphere is the entire unincorporated county, but they don't actually offer service beyond the West County.
Right, that's a good question. So when it was established, when the district was established, it was formed by the legislature, so LAFCO was not in control of that process. And the sphere includes the entire county. So the idea there, and there was a big discussion at the time that the district was formed and the sphere was established. So the question at that time was, should the sphere include the cities that were not included in the district or not? So the question did not come up regarding the services where the services are being provided, because they're within the district's service area regardless. And you're right, that there are several other services, transit services that are provided, and that includes the Ojai Trolley, like you said, VC Transit, the East County Transit Alliance, the Canaan Shuttle, and also the Valley Express and the Heritage Valley. And so that was all discussed as part of the MSR that was prepared at the time that the district was formed. So LAFCO reacted to that formation and prepared the MSR. And so as part of that, LAFCO was recommending that the district go ahead and explore the possibilities of just collaborating and trying to establish those, the overlaps and make a little bit more sense of that, because there is the acknowledgement that there is overlap, but at the same time, transit is a regional type of service, so it's also understood that it would cover larger area. So hopefully that answers your question.
The legislation that formed the district does have an allowance for those cities that are not within the districts currently to join the district in the future. And it was kind of encouraged in the legislation, not required. So that was one of the considerations of the commission when it established the sphere of influence. In addition to that, by including those cities within the sphere of influence, there are provisions that will allow for the district to provide some services to within those cities if they do desire those services without the requirement to annex. If they were not within the district sphere of influence, the district would not be able to extend those services to within the cities. And on top of that, the discussion was also that any annexations to those cities would have also required an application to amend the district sphere of influence every time that happened. And that was just an increased cost in the process that really wasn't necessary. So there was consideration given to property owners in the cities for future annexations that might occur.
Did you have more follow-up? Because then I have another question related to that.
Only that after the meeting, I'll go into great detail with you, the history of why it's the way it is now. But it would take an hour or so.
So the one other question then that I had was, because it's something that has come up at VCTC, but then as I was looking at this, it says the city council of non-member cities would have to request to join the district. So because at one point it was suggested that VCTC could make that decision for the cities, but that's not what I'm seeing here. So I want clarity around who could actually make the decision that a city would be required to join the district.
VCTC and the transit district are completely separate entities. So VCTC has no authority to require or make a decision for a city regarding them wanting to annex into the district.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Very good questions. Do we have any other questions? Commissioner Mohammed.
I really would like to hear more about VCTC. She asked all the questions that I was going to ask because it's really important. Would you elaborate a little bit more about VCTC and also all the other transit districts within the county? How does it all work out? Because there's no reason for coming back for additional service area, et cetera. So go ahead.
Well, my understanding of VCTC is limited as they do not fall within LAFCO's jurisdiction. So we've never had to prepare an MSR for VCTC. Andrea probably knows a lot more about the transit situation in the county than most people, as she prepared a really comprehensive analysis of countywide transportation as part of the city MSRs about 5 or 6 years ago. I don't know if you have much recollection of that, Andrea, but can you speak to that at all?
I'm gonna have to dig that up, but yeah, that was one of the the written determinations related to the cities, and also as part of Gold Coast, I believe we prepared it there too, just to try to untangle that a little bit more, because it is confusing, and there are a lot of services, and there is overlap, and a lot of that has to do with the control over those different services. For example, the East County Transit Alliance, that was to, almost like another, it is another organization that provides services in East County for areas that are not interested at this time in being part of Gold Coast. So it's just the different dynamics of the different organizations involved. And those ones that I listed before, that there are at least 5 other service providers other than Gold Coast.
So the map really goes over whole county, so I thought there is a determination somewhere to block off everybody else, just Gold Coast to serve the thing. That's not the point, is it?
No, and we were very careful to not do that, because that was not in the interest of anyone, it seemed to be at that time. There was a lot of discussion and concern about Gold Coast, the idea that Gold Coast might come in and take over. So we were very careful not to say it. But what we did say at the time, in the MSR for Gold Coast, we said that all of the transit services listed above provide public transit services within either Gold Coast service area or other areas of Ventura County. The Gold Coast Transit District may wish to consider exploring opportunities where available and if necessary to combine and/or coordinate service efforts with other agencies for the transit services described above. And what we can do is perhaps we can send out that discussion that we had prepared in the past to the commission after the meeting, if that would be of interest.
Okay, if there are no further questions, I'd be looking for a motion.
I move the recommended action.
We have a second. Okay, we have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Moving on to correspondence received. Number 17, letter from Aid Bailey regarding the Ventura LAFCO fiscal year end 2024 audit dated November 28, 2024. Okay, did we want to go over this one, or is it just receive and file?
Receive and file.
Okay, receive and file. With that being said, moving on to any final comments from the commission.
Mr. Chair, did we skip over the executive officer's report, or?
We did. I missed the executive officer's report.
I do
Thank
have
you.
comment, just a quick comment at the end, but I'll reserve that.
Okay, Kai.
Okay, thank you, Chair Avila. I do want to follow up on some of the information that I've been providing to the commission as part of the update memos regarding the situation at Cal LAFCO. As you know, Cal LAFCO took some action back in July to dissolve the legislative committee, which is one of the most important features of the services that we receive from Cal LAFCO. That was done in kind of a secretive manner with no outreach and no informing the membership of what was going on, and it was just done. That led to an effort by most of the executive officers to appeal to the board to reinstate that committee. However, the damage to the trust between a lot of the EOs and the board was done, and that brought, like I said, a lot of distrust and some demands from the executive officers for some changes at Cal LAFCO to ensure that there is transparency and that the membership concerns are taken seriously and considered before any further actions by the board and the executive officer are taken that would impact LAFCOs. So in response to those concerns, the board held a meeting last Friday on January 10th. And the two primary items of discussion were the suggestions made by a number of executive officers to implement policies that would protect the membership from actions by the executive director and the board that impact LAFCOs and the membership. These are basically safeguards to ensure that the membership is kept in the loop on all these important decisions. That wasn't happening. And it was unfortunate that it got to the point where these safeguards needed to be implemented because it was never necessary in the history of Cal LAFCO under previous executive directors. The other item of import on that agenda was a performance review for the executive director. The meeting was scheduled for 6 hours. It went almost 7 hours. I would say about 2/3 of the executive officers were in attendance, and fully a quarter of them spoke to the board. There was quite a bit of discussion regarding the suggested policy revisions that were suggested by the executive officers. However, at the end, no specific action was taken on those, unfortunately. However, the board did commit to having a special meeting in early February, and they do intend to implement all of those suggestions. So that was something positive that came out of that. The executive director's performance evaluation went for almost 3 hours, and there was nothing to report coming out of that closed session. So the status of the executive director is still kind of unknown to the executive officers. So there's still a lot of discussions going on with the executive officers as a fallout from the lack of action, essentially, that occurred on Friday. Several other LAFCOs have indicated that they will be considering pulling out of the organization. So that's the consequence of the inaction by the board. San Bernardino has already chosen to do that. They will not be renewing their membership next year. San Diego has indicated as much. Orange County has indicated as much, and it appears Los Angeles as well. In addition, I've had discussions with some executive officers from Northern California who are in the same position, that they may very well be considering leaving the organization absent substantive changes, and soon. Budget time is coming up, and so that's going to be a consideration for these LAFCO's budgets. So that's all I have to report back as of now. Things may change in the very near future, and I will, of course, let the commission know if and when that happens. So that's it.
All right, thank you for the very important update. Do we have questions from the commission?
Okay. I was going to make a comment on the commissioner comments, but this is the right time, because I would like to commend our executive officer and our team for the LAFCO. I was the delegate at the Cal LAFCO, and I've seen the action that goes on and things that happen. But the most importantly, the lead that was taken by our executive officer about the legislative committee, which was taken away and was reinstated because of the leadership that he took, and you got all the letters that has the signatures of all the other LAFCO that signed onto it. So, it was reversed, and now there is a legislative committee. So kudos to him. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you, Kai. Moving on to, I guess at this point is commissioner comments. And, yep.
Just briefly, the county council, at county council's direction, the board of supervisors adopts in their agenda every meeting up front an opportunity to pause and declare any Levine Act disclosures. And I defer to the chair as to whether we want to do that. And I don't know how the other jurisdictional bodies do that, but I know that moment in our agenda where we pause and either declare any Levine Act disclosures, or we say that there are none, it kind of gives an affirmative opportunity to speak that out as part of the agenda, up at the top of the agenda, and might be worthwhile if county council thinks that is, if it's important for the board of supervisors, maybe it's important for LAFCO to do it as well. So I would just defer to the chair, maybe to talk to county council to see if they would recommend that we do that as well in future agendas. Most of the time, none of us have disclosures. I think it's pretty rare, but it gives an affirmative opportunity to pause, to have an opportunity to make that disclosure and then move on, which I think gives, express, gives express confidence in those watching at home and the community to know whether or not we have any conflicts. So that's just one thought. The other thing I wanted to share is that last night, by a unanimous vote, the Board of Supervisors moved a measure that directed our county staff, subject matter experts, to begin the process and come back with findings and recommendations related to the potential of moving forward on the creation of a municipal utility district to provide power to the people of Ventura County as a potential theoretical alternative to the current provider. And it's not, it is, there's certainly some current frustration with the current provider, but this, it goes back, systemically years in terms of frustration with accountability, transparency, communication, et cetera. I share that with this body because if, whether by act of the board or by it being placed before voters for them to decide, and it were put into motion, it would ultimately become a LAFCO-related issue for consideration and within LAFCO's responsibilities, I believe. But, and unless there's any other questions for me, that's all of my comments. Thank you.
No, great comments there, and I will speak with council after the meeting about that, about the Levine Act. Also, I'd like to talk to you about that utilities district after the meeting as well. Do we have any other comments? Okay, with that, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
I had a comment, I couldn't get it on.
Okay, I'm going back. Commissioner Jean had a comment, but he couldn't get his microphone on.
Right, good morning. First off, I want to say hello to fellow commissioners and congratulate the new folks sitting here, and congratulations to the new officers of LAFCO. And I anticipate working closely with each of you and resolving any issue that may come up. But what I would like to do is, and you already called the meeting to adjourn, is a moment of silence for the people that are affected by the fires, not only here in Ventura County, but especially Los Angeles County, that either lost their homes, lost their lives. It's been a horrible situation, and I would like a moment of silence in remembrance for their honor and adjourn accordingly. Thank you.
Okay, and with that, we'll have a moment of silence. Okay, thank you, everybody. And with that, we are adjourned. Thank you.